Hey guys, Aaron here. Well, E3 is nearly upon us, so a few of the press conferences start this weekend, and the majority do start early next week. Nintendo's is Tuesday, I believe. There's just something really appealing about finding out what each company has got lined up for the rest of the year, what new hardware we've got, what new surprises are going to be there. So I want to talk about a bit of that. So first things first, going to talk about Nintendo. As you know, I do cover Nintendo quite a bit on my channel. So what am I looking forward to? Obviously, I'm looking forward to Mario Odyssey. It looks pretty good from what I've seen in the trailers that Nintendo covered in, January? So definitely going to be looking forward to that. Hopefully we get to see a few more worlds, things like this. Now, it's been quite a long time since we've actually had a fully 3D Mario game. Don't get me wrong, love Galaxy 1 and 2 and 3D World, but having a game more 3D like Mario 64, even Mario Sunshine to some extent, fully 3D worlds you can explore, find secrets. I would expect Nintendo to cover Mario Odyssey quite a bit. I mean, it's going to be their big flagship game for this year. So it's released, November, I believe, so not too long to go, really. Don't really want to wish the rest of the year away, but I expect they will cover some of that as well in Nintendo's Treehouse. I'm sure we'll get a lot more information on what each world is, what the big deal with the city is it a hub? Don't know. But yeah, want to definitely see more on that. What other games though? Now, I'm intrigued to see what Retro's new game is. So, Retro, of course, they worked on the Metroid Prime games. They worked on Donkey Kong Country Return games. Now, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy those games, but I would love to see something new from them. Something very different from anything else they've done on. Now, I did hear rumours that perhaps they are working on two games side by side. One of these could be Metroid or Donkey Kong. The other could be their own game that they've been developing on their own, which, yeah, new IP is always good in my eyes, especially for a system like Nintendo Switch. So yeah, we've also got Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, so it seems like a bit of an RPG, with elements, say, from Paper Mario, even bits from the South Park games, it kind of looks like, and of course maybe 3D World, those type of graphics anyway. Am I looking forward to this game? I'm not sure. Hopefully, after the actual press conference and trailers, my interest might peak a little bit, because the Rabbids were never really characters that I cared much for. Rayman, on the other hand, wasn't a bad game, but the Rabbids games, not too sure. Gonna have to see a trailer. Skyrim as well would be quite interesting to see. I think it could do well on the Switch. Just really hope they base it on the remaster version and not the previous gen versions, because I know what's going to happen. Like with FIFA that's recently been announced, people aren't happy when you've got a brand new console and it's relying on old tech to run these games. So yeah, Skyrim, I hope it's going to be a good one. Hope you can mod it as well, especially for the people that are into that. Sonic Mania. Now, this game is one of two that are Sega releasing under the Sonic franchise. Sonic Mania, of course, is mainly a 2D style game based on the older classics. Kind of what I prefer, really. Don't get me wrong. Some of the 3D games are good, but they've kind of gone downhill lately. Sonic Forces is that game that is going to try and push that 3D Sonic again. So you can do customization for your own character. Definitely something new coming from Sega for the Sonic franchise. Want to see how it turns out, but at the minute, Sonic Mania is personally where it is with me. Also, the Zelda DLC. I really wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo does cover this a bit. I mean, it's released, by the year end, so anyone who has bought that season pass, if they could see a bit of gameplay, I think they'd be a bit happier with their purchase. Personally, for myself, I still haven't completed Breath of the Wild. I'd be interested to see, though, if this DLC takes place after you kill Ganon. Spoiler alert, of course, but sorry. It would be interesting to see if it goes in that direction, or whether it does something completely different but using that world. Something like, say, Link's Awakening, where the storyline was completely different to anything else we'd really seen in the Zelda game. Now, I don't really want to see too many ports coming from the Wii U. We're obviously going to get something like Smash Brothers. It's a given. Whether Nintendo show this at E3, I'm not really too sure. They have said they want to concentrate on this year's games. So along with ARMS and Splatoon 2, of course, they've already got quite a lot of stuff coming out this year. But I'd love to see a new Smash Brothers. Hopefully that isn't a complete straight port from the Wii U. What could they do? They could give us a load of new extra levels, even if it was just taking those levels from the 3DS game. I'd be pretty happy. Maybe a few extra characters. A proper level creator this time wouldn't go amiss, really. Being able to actually create a level like you do in Mario Maker would be great. More on that in a minute, though. What about Luigi Mansion sequel or a port from the 3DS game? I've only ever played the GameCube Luigi Mansion. Never did get into I didn't even purchase a 3DS one. But maybe a port of that game, looking all good in 1080p. Maybe with a few extra rooms in it, or an extra house rather. It would be quite a good way to get a game out that maybe hasn't sort of been seen on a console for quite a long time. What about some more Mario Kart 8 DLC? Now, being a deluxe version, you would think that perhaps DLC really isn't going to come, and it is quite possible it won't, but you know, we only really ever get one Mario Kart game per generation, and it's already been a port, so I'd love to see some DLC or some news that a new Mario Kart's coming. There's no chance we're going to get that, but you know, maybe some DLC being announced would be a nice little follow-up, really. Pokemon Stars as well. There's rumours Nintendo might announce this at E3. It's been something that a lot of Pokemon players have been asking for. Maybe like if we could get a proper 3D Pokemon game for once without it being maybe a overhead view that, you know, stuck with the franchise for so long now. I'm not a massive Pokemon fan, so it doesn't really fuss me, but I know a lot of people, especially people upgrading from the 3DS, they want a Pokemon game specifically for the Switch. So yeah, let's make it happen, Nintendo. So yeah, I'd love to see a Mario Maker as well. I seriously doubt Nintendo are going to announce this at E3 this year. I think it's going to be something they'll probably talk about next year. But if they do, I'd love to see a definite big upgrade to the game. Maybe give us more themes, a few other bits. I don't want to talk too much about Mario Maker, mainly because I've got a video that I want to release at some point, going a bit more into detail with that. Hopefully we don't get too many Switch ports. It could be very easy for Nintendo just to release, for example, Mario 3D World, Hyrule Warriors, Captain Toad. You know, they didn't get as many sales perhaps as Nintendo wanted. I wouldn't mind seeing them at some point, but not this year. Maybe next year. And maybe just release them on the eShop. So I'm definitely looking forward to Nintendo's press conference the most. But I do quite like Sony's and Microsoft's, and of course, you know, every other company that goes to E3 and announces their games. What other stuff am I interested in? Now, my big thing is Resident Evil. I want to see some more DLC for Resident Evil 7. I want to see Resident Evil 2 Remake finally revealed. Now, it is a rumour from my knowledge anyway, but I would, if it is going to be the case, definitely want to see some gameplay footage there. Resident Evil 2 along with Resident Evil 4, they're both my favourite Resident Evil games, and I've been wanting a remake of Resi 2 for so many years now. Finally, it could be happening, so Capcom, make it happen there. Life is Strange 2, I'd like to see a few sort of more gameplay snips, but I think it's very early in development. I don't quite know if we're going to see that E3. But what about stuff like Last of Us 2, God of War rather? Now, I really love these big story-driven games. Last of Us in particular, it really stayed with me once I completed that game. It was fantastic. I recommend anyone playing that if you never have. Just the story of the game was amazing, if I'm being honest. And I can't wait to see the second game, even though I think it ended, you know, very well. I don't quite know if it really needed a sequel. But obviously money talks, so Naughty Dog are going to be working on that, and hopefully we'll get to see that released in the next year or two. Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts 3. I love both of these games. I love the franchises to some extent, but it's been so long since they've first been announced. Will they actually be released this century? I'm not kidding. It seems to be taking forever since they first announced them. And I still think, unfortunately, they're a few years away, but we'll have to just wait and see. Keep patient, I guess. Just make sure those videos are going to be good when they are shown. Hopefully at E3 next week. Apart from that, there's a few little games. I love the indie stuff as well. So I'd love to be able to see what some indies have got in preparation for the Switch, for the PC even. Little Nightmares was a game I played on my channel. It's just been revealed there's going to be some DLC for that later in the year. So looking forward to getting that. South Park, of course, that's coming out later in the year. Looking forward to that. There's a whole heap of games that I'm looking forward to. Way too many to talk about in this video. What I really want to see though this year is new IP. So we are used to these yearly installments of a lot of franchises. I'm not going to say any names, you know what they are. But, you know, I've grown bored of those games. I want to see some new interesting ideas. Maybe we'll get to see some proper VR stuff as well. If these game companies are taking VR seriously, that is. So yeah, E3 is really not that long away now. So looking forward to it, definitely. Yeah, what games are you looking forward to anyway next week? Definitely leave your comments down below under the video. As usual, maybe give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed what you watched. And yeah, consider subscribing as well if you are new to the channel. In any case, thanks for watching.